Hi all, welcome back to my channel. I am back with another good video on the topic poverty, a challenge, vulnerable groups and economic factors. Let us discuss this topic. You can see a graph wherein vulnerable social groups are given and it is bifurcated into five parts, that is elderly, scheduled caste, women, children and people with disabilities. So let us understand them in detail. What are scheduled caste and scheduled tribes doing over here? There is historical and ongoing discrimination happening on these people. That is, the discrimination is happening to them since the historic period. It is not today or yesterday. It has been happening from generations. And how the next generation, for example, the first elderly people, they treated the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes people as backward community, and later on what happened, the upcoming generation also start to take that as an habit. They started adapting as a culture that they have to treat them as backward people, which is utterly wrong. Second one is lack of access to education and resources. Now these people were not given access to education and resources. It was believed that only the people belonging to the higher community were allowed to go to school and go to temple and all. These people were not given the right to get educated or utilize the basic resources also. For example, you might have watched in the olden movies or any movies related to the olden times that the people belonging to these tribes or caste were not allowed to take water from the well which is communicated in the which is there in the center of the village. They because they were said that they were not allowed inside the villages, so they used to go to far places. They used to travel, they used to walk huge miles to take water. Then land ownership and livelihoods. Now, of course, these people were not having any land ownership and they were not having any source of income, which was a very good, it was a very bad thing wherein it was not possible for them to survive their or to meet their daily needs. Next one is women. Now, here gender inequality. This is a biggest thing which has been happening from ages. Luckily, now some places have overcome this women discrimination, gender inequality, whatever names you give. It has been there has been awareness created through many movies, through many campaigns, through many social political people who are upcoming, and awareness is created. But ideally what is happening is societal norms and gender roles often limit women's economic and social participation. They may have limited access to education, property rights and decision making power within household. So even in the house of women, we might be learning that women were not allowed to take decisions in the home. Also domestic violence. Now domestic violence against women was at a peak, especially in the rural areas, related to physical abuse or emotional or economically, wherein women were not allowed to be strong. Limited job opportunities. Now, women are not given job even today in many parts of the rural places where women are not allowed to work. Caregiving responsibilities. Now, the burden of unpaid care work, such as childcare and elder care, falls on women, limiting their time and energy for income generating activities. Now, if a woman is fully occupied in the household chores only, then how is she going to make money? How is she going to generate income? Next is children. Children, it includes child labor, lack of access to education, malnutrition, vulnerability to exploitation. So, child labor is a case wherein children are forced to work because to survive the daily need, who are actually poor, those people they do not send their children to schools, rather they send them to work, because first they give priority to the food for the daily income. Then lack of access to education, these children are not allowed, these children are not sent to school, so they are not getting education, and there is no cognitive or future development for these children. Land ownership and malnutrition. Malnutrition is a case wherein children are not getting nutritious food to eat, because of which their health is always on a toss. Next is vulnerability to exploitation. Children from poor families are more vulnerable to exploitation, including child trafficking, child marriage, and sexual abuse. Next one is people with disabilities. Now, this includes limited access to education, lack of accessibility, discrimination in employment, stigma, and social exclusion. Now, these people who are with disabilities, who are physically challenged, or who are differently abled, are having limited access to education. All schools cannot accommodate them, and they have lack of accessibility to many things. Then discrimination in employment, these people are not getting employment because of course an employer will give job to a normal person, not a specially able person. Stigma and social exclusion. Social stigma and discrimination can lead to social isolation and exclusion, further exacerbating poverty and limiting access to support services. Let us move forward. Vulnerable economic growth in rural India. What does the term vulnerable mean? Yes, if you know the meaning, you can comment on the below. Vulnerable simply means weak and easy to hurt physically or emotionally. So, the people who are coming from the rural area, who are actually very poor, they are very weak. It is they are weak physically also, and they are weak financially also. So it is very easy to harm them. It is very easy to target them. It is assumed like that. Laborers, let us understand landless laborers. These landless laborers, as I discussed in the previous videos also, the people who are landless, they are forced to go for low wages. They are facing a problem of irregular employment and depending on the weather conditions. For example, agriculture work is heavily dependent on weather condition. Drought, flood, and other natural disasters can severely affect their income and livelihoods. Next one is small and marginal farmers. Now these farmers, their productivity is very low, and they often cultivate small plots of land with limited resources and traditionally farming methods. This result in low yield and limited income, indebtedness. To meet their expense, many small and marginal farmers are forced to borrow money from moneylenders at high interest rates, which is the biggest problem. Lack of access to technology and markets. Now, since they cannot afford to purchase any technologies or any fertilizers or anything, so it is a task for them. It is a task for them to survive in the competitive world. Last one is Adivasi communities. Now you might be knowing who are Adivasis, the people who are living in the reserved areas of the forest are called as Adivasi people. You can say that they are living there illegally as per the norms of the government. They have limited access to resources, and the traditional livelihood affected by the development rely on traditional livelihoods such as forest based activities like hunting, gathering, and forest produce collection. However, these livelihoods are increasingly threatened by deforestation, mining, and other development activities. Vulnerability to exploitation. Due to their marginalized status, Adivasi communities are often vulnerable to exploitation by outsiders such as land grabbing, illegal logging, and forced labor. Let us move forward. Vulnerable economic groups in urban India. So what is this? Urban slums dwellers. It comprises of lack of access to basic amenities, wherein slum dwellers often lack access to clean water, sanitization, electricity, and proper housing. Next one is informal employment. Many slum dwellers are engaged in informal employment such as street vending, domestic work, and construction work. Vulnerability to exploitation is a case wherein slum dwellers are often vulnerable by landlords, employers, and local authorities. They may face issues like forced eviction, illegal land grabs, and lack of access to essential services. Next one is migrant workers. Now, who are migrants? The people who are moving from one place to another in search of job are known as migrant workers. They work for low wages, that is low paying jobs such as construction work, domestic work, factory work, earning wages that are barely enough to meet their basic needs. And insecure employment, they often face job insecurity, short term contract, and constant threat of unemployment. They are always in a pressure of losing their job since these people work on contract, and once the contract is over, they are searching for another job. Lack of social security. Migrant workers often lack access to social security benefit. This leaves them vulnerable to economic shocks and health crisis. Next is homeless people. Lack of shelter. Homeless people lack a safe and secure place to live. Now, these people, just imagine if you do not have a house to live, where will you live? Yes, we might have seen while traveling somewhere that people are staying near the roadsides. Why? Because they do not have shelter. Do not afford to buy a house or to even pay the rent of the house. Food insecurity. Access to regular and nutritious food is often a major challenge for homeless people. Now they are not having home. Second thing, they are that poor that they are insecure to have food also, lack of healthcare. So these people, homeless people, have limited access to healthcare, making it difficult for them to address their health needs and maintain their well-being. Let us move forward. Why do these groups fall below the poverty line? Let us understand that why these groups are actually falling below the poverty line. First one is lack of education and skills. These people, they are not having enough education, they are not having enough skills, that is they are not having any options with them. Like for example, a person who is coming from village, he may be prone to farming, but he may not be knowing the some other work, like any computer work, any factory work, or any other works. Yes, so he's not having any technical or work skills, and because he is not educated, it is not possible for him to work in any offices or any normal job also. Next one is unemployment and underemployment. It is a case wherein insufficient income, where unemployment or underemployment leads to insufficient income to meet basic need like food, shelter, and healthcare. Debt accumulation. When income is insufficient, individuals may resort to borrowing money, leading to debt. Now, because of unemployment and underemployment, now people are becoming very insufficient and they are borrowing money, further making the situation difficult for them. Loss of self esteem. Now they are jobless, so they are not having self esteem. It is difficult for them to respect themselves, to survive their life, because they are not having shelter, they are not having food, they are not having proper health. So how will a person have self esteem? Next is inequality and discrimination. Inequality and discrimination relates to limited access to resources. They are not having proper access to resources because they are discriminated by caste, gender, race, or disability. And unequal opportunities can limit access to job opportunities, credit, and other economic opportunities, making it difficult for them to live. Social exclusion, wherein It can lead to social isolation and limited social support network, making it more difficult to overcome poverty. The fourth one is natural disaster and climate change. Now, because of natural disasters like flood, drought, cyclones can destroy crop, damage property, disrupt livelihood, pushing people into poverty. So, because of the natural disaster, people can become poor. Displacement, where people migrate to other areas, disrupting their livelihood and social networks. Climate change is increasing frequently because of the natural disasters, exerting the impact on vulnerability population. Next one is illness and disability. Now, people cannot afford to have a shelter for them, food for them, for good health care. So they are going to be ill, and what it is going to relate to? It is going to lead to high medical expense because of their illness. They will not be able to pay the medical bills or take any hospital facilities. Since they are not having income, how will they go and take any medical help? Stigma and discrimination. People with disabilities may face discrimination in employment and social setting, further limiting their economic opportunities. Let us move forward. Breaking the cycle of poverty, education, and skill development. Now we can break the cycle of poverty by these cycle wherein we can contribute in five different ways, that is education and skill development, job creation and employment, social safety nets, empowering women, inclusive development. So let us discuss the first one, education and skill development, empowering individuals, breaking the cycle, increase earning potential. So we have to equip individuals with knowledge, skill and critical thinking abilities. We have to break the cycle by educating the individuals, by helping them secure better paying jobs and increasing their earning potential. Next one is job creation and employment opportunity. If a person is getting proper job, like he can sustain his livelihood, he has a decent work wherein his self esteem is created, he can respect himself, he can meet his daily needs, so he will have a proper rapport, he will have a proper way of living. Addressing unemployment, government policies and initiatives should focus on addressing unemployment and underemployment, providing support for job seekers and creating a conducive environment for job creation. Now the government also should come up giving many employment opportunities to the people who are coming from rural areas or from the marginalized poverty based areas. Next one is social society nets, ensuring basic needs, protecting against shocks, investing in human capital. So it is like ensuring basic needs. Everybody should have the right, everybody has a right and should be having the basic needs like education, let it be health, let it be housing, let it be a job. Yes, similarly, protecting against shock. These programs provide a safety net during times of crisis such as job loss, illness, or natural disasters. Investing in human capital, investing in social safety nets, particularly in areas like healthcare and education, is an investment in human capital. So, if you are spending any money on your health or education, it is an investment. Next one is empowering women. Gender equality, women's economic participation, breaking gender stereotypes. Now, stereotypes means it is a case wherein it old elderly people, they have created a situation wherein people tell that a girl cannot go to work. A girl is responsible only to take care of the house. But nowadays, you might be seeing that your mother and father both are working, both are having sharing their equal responsibility. Both of them are earning nicely, and the family is getting balanced. So this is an example of breaking gender stereotype. And equally, now in your house, your mother and father, they equally have the deciding authority. This is known as gender equality. The last one is inclusive development, wherein addressing the needs of marginalized communities, empowering local communities, reducing inequalities. Inclusive development strategy aims to address the specific needs and challenges faced by marginalized communities such as indigenous people with disability and those living in remote areas. Empowering local communities to participate in decision making process and benefit from development initiatives, reducing inequality wherein there is access to resources, opportunities, and services is essential for breaking the cycle of poverty and promoting equitable development. So, thank you so much. This is all for today. I will soon come back with another good, interesting video. Thank you.